Good evening. Welcome to early work session. City Council. Today is Tuesday, September 26th. The meeting is called to order at 6 p.m. Let the record show all council members are present. First on the agenda is to receive a presentation on the kickball feasibility study for Unity Park.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This was a supplemental request last year. Kirk Wilson with Half and Associates is here and is going to do the presentation. We have presented it to Park Board, so they've seen it. This is the last step in this process. Kirk Wilson with Half and Associates also is the one that designed and did the construction administration for the gray field, and they're also on your agenda under action items for remaining projects that are related to Unity, Brazos, and the Highland Village Student Center as well. So they've done some good work here. So I'm gonna go ahead and call him up, and we'll get the presentation started.
Thank you all. I'm Kirk Wilson with Half Associates, Director of Landscape Architecture in our Fort Worth office. I appreciate y'all spending some time letting us discover this and work with y'all. It was great talking to the Park Board, hearing their comments and sharing this idea, working with Phil and his staff. It's been a great pleasure, even just the last few years of working with Phil over and over again on various parks, and just seeing his staff and what he brings to the parks and to y'all citizens, and it's just, we appreciate the opportunity. So today we're gonna talk about the Unity Park, excuse me, kickball facility study, feasibility study. So with that, this is the early work session, and we're gonna just dive right into it. Tonight we're talking about the progress, the concept review, a cost estimate, and then a Q&A discussion.
He is crushing that ball.
Looks like he's topping it.
I mean,
You'll be there all night. So, we've already had our kickoff meeting, review, background information, on the ground review of the site, preliminary concepts. We've had discussions with city staff. Let's see, we had an update, but we've already had the discussion with Park Board, and now we're having the future discussion with y'all. And then after that, y'all will take it from there and consider future bond considerations. So with that, let's get into the concept. So just to let everybody know, in the beginning, there was an idea that the kickball fields may also be a softball field. When we got out there and started looking at it, foul lines, where fences need to go, keep the balls from heading over into Briar Hill and other areas, we all just sat back and said, it really is not the best opportunity to do a softball field, and we wanted to just keep it focused on kickball because of foul ball issues and just that general safety of people walking through it. With that, we went into three concepts. We have concept A, where we looked at locating it in the south, where it ties in a little bit more to the parking lot, starts to activate this space. You'll see the design opportunities there. A separated loading and stacking space for players down here. So instead of trying to jam everybody in here and compete with each other as far as parking goes, let's see if this laser will show. Trying to keep it pretty much centralized to this area so you try to avoid conflict of users just smacking into each other. It takes advantage of the north-south access and existing green space. It really starts to activate this space. It also locates restroom facilities. We're a little bit more centrally located between Kids Castle and the baseball, the kickball field, and then and removes the existing one that's up here that's a little bit undersized. A lot of people have to traverse quite a distance there. Minimal impact on the existing trail system. You're roughly removing maybe 100 or so feet of trail. Now, there may be some retaining walls that we have to work out in order to get this grade to work, but the trail alignment should stay roughly there. Creates a large green space, and then we're also trying to work with a lot of existing trees and avoid damaging that. So the concepts that you see may move and budge once we get an honest survey out there. But we're really trying to work because we understand that trees in this area, in this part of Texas, are a big commodity. And then also just a big asset to the community, as well as the fact that you've got that Kid Castle and try and take care of that. Like I said, on the design constraints, you're gonna be dealing with retaining walls. And then just, because of its positioning, you're gonna have some players with some sun in their face, and it's just part of the game. When it comes down to the elements, expanded parking, working with Kids Castle, a potential overlook or a dock or a pier here to kind of just take advantage of that space, trying to also activate all of this into much more of a park space. So right now, this space overall, when you look at it here, I don't know if everybody can see that or not, you have a tremendous amount of activity that's going on down in these other parts of the park, and this kind of just gets a little severed or a little stagnant, where this really starts to tie all that together and activates that space. So now the park really becomes active. Also looking at putting in some half-size multi-use fields. That gives Phil some opportunity, some opportunities to either more organized sports, or it can be just kind of pickup games or practice spaces. So you really get to do that. So looking at putting in dugouts, bleachers, and just really trying to make this a really neat kickball facility.
When you say half-size fields, what dimensions are we talking about?
What I would probably say is would that be, I'm trying to think of the soccer size for the little kids.
Yeah, you're probably looking like about a 60 by 80, roughly right around in there.
So you could conceivably move neighborhood sports out of Brazos over to there, right?
Football, it would be another venue for them to use, definitely. Yeah,
I'm thinking down the road about different,
utilization
utilization of Brazos
Yeah,
Park.
yeah, and I know what you're talking about, but yes. There, and then also in the future, we're, it's not a part of this, but working with the middle school there and trying to do improvements on that athletic field and maybe even synthetic grass and trying to partner with them so that we can have joint usage in the evening and they can use it during, school hours.
You have questions on concept A? Yes, sir.
The new parking on the north side, is that on the north side of the railroad tracks?
No, we would be on the south side of the railroad tracks.
Okay.
Now, there's gonna be some.
What's that staggered line then?
Yeah, what's the
That's
dash
the
line?
ditch.
That's a ditch. So there's not a lot of space there.
No, we definitely would have to engineer a lot of that. We'd also have to work
Okay.
with, we're trying to remember, I believe there's also an upper Trinity, some easements, some activity that are going on in there. So that's definitely, will have to be coordinated.
I like the idea of moving that restroom.
Yeah,
We get a lot of requests for that
I can imagine.
from our dog park and Kids Castle folks.
It's a long way to walk a 5-year-old over there after he's really tired of playing.
all my
many
kids are
spaces?
well beyond the 5-year stage.
How many spaces are you adding parking?
I'd have to go back and take a look at that. I think it's in our breakdown of the estimate, but I think that's close to 20 to maybe 30 additional.
I'm assuming there will be a fence around the field itself.
Correct.
What size, height?
Your standard, so that's what, 6 to 8 feet, just give or take?
It looked like gray field.
Yeah.
Pretty much what's out there.
Okay.
the new
Phil?
field.
And the,
I'm sorry, Brian.
yeah.
Go ahead, no, go ahead, sorry.
the multi-use fields, currently, especially on weekends, that entire green area is utilized either through practice or off,
Just pick up games, yeah.
right, whatever, right? Is that going to be enough to accommodate them? Where are we going to displace them to?
So that space currently is non-programmed. So whoever shows up, first come, first serve.
Okay.
So that's how this would continue to play out. And that's why the second part of this is vital with working with the junior high to try to get some activation over there on the football field after hours. They're having problems sustaining the turf on that. Tried to work with them. I'm going to continue to do that, to create more space and more opportunity for usage. Now for this,
Well, but then that's really, if the people that currently use it,
mhm,
when if this is in place, because there's no barriers, they would migrate over to that field.
Correct,
And
and
that's
that's
the whole
okay.
point, right?
Yeah.
If you can get it as a turf field.
Right, I mean, they can go over there now.
And the school has no problem with them going?
Yeah, in
there?
the agreement, we have that field for programming anytime after school hours. The school's not using it.
Okay.
Is it LISD?
Yes, well,
It's city land, but
It's city
LISD
land,
maintains it.
okay,
And we allow them to use it for their practice field essentially.
correct. Yes, sir.
So it is ours, but there's no,
So there's an agreement in place that they have it during school hours, and they maintain it, mow it, fertilize it, do all of that. And then that was part of the agreement, and then we program it after hours. And currently, right now, we don't program it. It's first come, first served.
would you, if this is in place, that practice field for the school,
Mhm.
would that become a programmed field?
I would love for it. I've been trying to make that happen for about 4 years. So I'm still working on, we've had some new principals and new superintendent, and new facility folks. So I have to set up a formal meeting. It's probably gonna involve Paul at some point, and,
Okay, so taking the next step then,
Yeah.
in that rationalization, you've got a field that maybe essentially becomes programmed.
Yeah.
This is the only unprogrammed area. You're gonna displace some people.
correct.
Where would they go within the city?
Well, part of the folks that are using these fields are not
I understand.
residents.
Right.
They're gonna have to find another space. We don't have another space for them. The reason, and we should have I should have probably given an introduction as to why we're doing the kickball field. Currently, kickball is played on, youth, baseball or softball,
Mostly softball.
mostly softball. And we have one girls' softball field, okay? And,
We need two.
they need two, exactly. They need two field, and they need some relief. They need to get off that field. And our kickball program is one of the only adult programs that we have in the city. And it's very well attended. And we want to continue to provide something for them. In addition to that, we can do soccer in the outfield for them. We get requests for that as well. So that is why this kickball field is down here. Everything else, our majority of the athletic space that we have, high percentage of it is for youth. So this provides something for our adults.
And why this location over a Doubletree or a Copper's Branch?
Doubletree, I would not put it there because it's designed for soccer and for grand lawn and entertainment. It wouldn't fit there. That wouldn't be the right place. We could potentially put it possibly out at Copper's if we wanted to.
But that's years off.
That is years off. And I see that as being more of a flex field. We went through the feasibility study, I keep wanting to say
Master plan for.
the master plan for Copper's, thank you. There is flex fields that are going out there for youth and adult programming. So these folks eventually that are displaced will have a place out there. Approximately, I want to say about 1.5 acres to play for pickup. And we chose this site. If you've ever been to a kickball game, very family oriented. A lot of young families bring their kids and kiddos. It just makes sense to have them here next to Kids Castle, to have the restroom. I mean, it just makes sense. And they're used to being at Unity. And right now, Unity is probably our showcase athletic park site that has a tremendous amount of foot traffic. And I feel that it makes sense because of the connection it has with the business community. So folks typically that play here, they wind up going to Shoal Creek, having some drinks, some snacks, things like that. We want to continue to encourage that. I don't want to tuck it away someplace and lose all of those taxable dollars that are already spending money in the city. You know, a few hundred folks, you know, a couple times a week.
And last question, with this addition and the reconfiguration of the parking, with the parking on the south side lot, is that going to be enough parking to accommodate the number of people that would be
Yes.
involved
We also have additional parking behind the junior high.
here? Right, that just walk to it, right?
Yep.
You know, you think of, on baseball days, you don't have that additional parking.
Well, we do. This is gonna free up parking on the baseball field in the upper, so it's gonna benefit them as well. Because the field is down here, folks that are playing kickball are gonna park down here. And typically, they don't for baseball.
They're currently up there.
Typically, they park at the parking lot that's
Behind.
by Studio B or whatever it's
Yes.
called. That parking lot back there, because they're either on the blue field or the gray field,
Okay.
right? I forget which one of those two they play on. I think it's gray they play on, right?
It's gray and blue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they
okay.
park up there, so, and that parking lot is already, 7 days a week is already congested with all the baseball and softball activity that's happening already, so he's right, this would free that up.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
The overall within the city, what is a rule of thumb to have, I guess, free play? It's, a lot of stuff's all programmed. At the end of the day, is there a set aside percentage for just free play? Am I making sense?
Yeah, it does, and there's really no matrix for that,
Okay.
other than provide the opportunity based off of what the community needs are and wants.
Okay.
And we really don't get a lot of calls from parents that just want free play. What we do get calls for is more practice space. That's every city, okay? But free.
Oh, I paid my fair share of fees to have soccer in Highland Village.
Yeah, and same here with 4 kids that played soccer and sports. But we're looking at those opportunities. That's important to me, that it happens at Briar Hill on the football field and it happens at Coppers Branch. And those are just in the future. So we have a plan for it. And then there's also Brazos as well that allows for open play.
The question I was gonna ask about that extra parking lot that you'd have to engineer. You know, currently that original parking lot, we have a flock camera there. Where that flock camera is located, is it gonna capture people coming into that lot as well, or would we have to look at another camera moving it?
That's something that we would definitely have to look at. We would either add one or, Chief's not here, but he would make the adjustments to make sure we caught everything. For sure, because
And then that lower lot as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an expectation within the city now, so I don't see that being, it's gonna happen, it has to happen. So it'd be a part of the project, it's non-negotiable. Okay, next one.
All right, concept B, how we start to we're rotating much more toward the east, and we're really trying to, locate this in such a way, when you look from a distance of a primary location, this particular orientation really gives a lot of hierarchy to the field itself. It starts to gobble up a little more space, but here, the field starts to take over. It's still connected to the kids' castle. It's primarily located where now you have a rather sizable parking here, you have parking here, so now it's much more in the middle. And once again, it continues to activate that space, it continues that connection to Kid Castle. We get a little bit more aggressive with the trail that we have to take out and we have to realign. But now, when the field takes this much precedence, we start doing away with the other active spaces.
So 200 feet, is that standard for kickball? I mean, people are actually kicking a ball that far?
Yes, sir.
So would that, for that field that invades the outfield for the kickball, yeah, no, then go back where you were, because that's minimal. But like where you have that field that kind of cuts through the outfield there?
Right.
So with the kickball field, is that gonna be a temporary fence like we have at Blue? Or, I mean, how are you gonna manage those two on top of each other with a fence going through it?
And that's what we were trying to show is how they start to conflict.
So this one, just to be honest with you, is not something that I would approve.
Right, I guess, that's what I was thinking.
But we're showing just all of the work that was done to try to fit it in at the different angles.
Right, and like I said, this is really, the kickball field is really taking over the whole space. Now, the grades, the site, the drainage, this all kind of works much better as far as cut and fill type scenarios, just from an eye. Not necessarily we haven't sat down and done any of the calculations, but more of just a bare eye looking at it. So you have a lot more space to be able to really work with it here, but it's really aggressive. You start to minimize how much you can start introducing other areas and other things. But it has the same programs, the same process of working with the existing trees, working with Kids Castle, trying to bring the restroom down, and just trying to activate that whole space. And that was just that concept B. I will say that when we presented to the park board, they leaned much more toward A and C. No decision was made, but that was just more of what we had in our notes.
And the thing that I don't like also is number 2 here, is that we will have folks that will overcrowd the parking lot that is there for the dog park and Kids Castle.
Right.
And that's just really is not gonna work.
No.
It's
Let's go to
just,
C.
yep.
The dog park people are very,
Oh,
Well, the
Very
Kids Castle
loyal.
people too.
and that too.
Yeah.
I spent time there this week.
so C, now, before with A, so what you're seeing is you're seeing a slight rotation with C, where we're really trying to tuck it much more further to the south. So now these two areas become much larger, much more active. You can now start to kind of program this space a lot more. You still have that interaction with Kid Castle. Now it gets,
Into the slope.
yeah, and it gets tighter. And that's, to a certain degree, that's not necessarily bad when you have a lot of kids and parents kind of running into each other and just trying to keep track. It's easy for mom or dad or siblings or grandparents. Grandparents are just as active as the parents nowadays. Be able to quickly look over there. So this is really tucked in there, really trying to work with that space and opening up those fields for a much more use. Yes, ma'am.
I like it because it takes the sun, like it shifts the sun, but you can also make up your grades and your dugouts and bleachers as well.
Correct.
And integrate them in your retaining walls, so that
Yes,
would be a twofer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You almost create a stadium look.
Yeah, and
That area.
and that's not two different construction pieces, it's one.
You maximize the green space, you provide a shorter distance, walking distance to the parking lot, and it's very obvious you're gonna be parking over here in the Briar Hill Park.
So two questions I have looking at that is, number one, left field, how close is that getting to Briar Hill Boulevard?
The sidewalk, there's a buffer of probably about, I wanna say, if you add the sidewalk and back a curb, maybe 40 feet, 35.
So if Babe
It's a
Ruth
kickball.
comes up and kicks a ball 270 feet.
We'll put up netting, but they kick it to the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very rare that they kick it over the fence, but if they do, and we have the same scenario with the soccer balls and the soccer goals out there right
True,
now.
that's
So
true.
and to be quite honest with you, I mean, you all know, the activity between McCullough and Briar Hill, people know to go slow, and what's going on right here at the park. So thank God there hasn't been any issues.
Second question is on I guess that's the southeast side where you're gonna have to realign the trail.
Uh-huh.
I see what it looks like you're trying to do there. So how are people navigating what is the new trail just part of sidewalk around the bleachers and such?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, now, my professional thought is once we really get in there and we survey all of this, we can kind of wedge it and maneuver it and try to work with
Okay.
that a lot
Okay.
better.
Do you still have trail on the west side along?
Talking about here?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is that is one of my concerns is that this may have to go up slightly and rotate slightly to get all that to work. Because it's a lot going on, but you get it, you basically get, I won't say everything you want, but you get a really nice active space that still gives you the multi-use fields. It gets the kickball field in here, ties into Kid Castle. gets you the restrooms. But you're right, kind of like,
But you could,
kind of like Grayfield. Grayfield was, we had that little floating spot where the grades just kind of fought each other, and we just had to make that work.
but
once
you
we
could
got on
go,
the
you
field.
could go 190 feet instead of 200.
Yes, we could. We could do, Fenway and put a green monster over there in left field or something, so, yeah. Yeah, we can make adjustments for sure. Yeah, to shorten it. We could go, 190 and go with an 8-foot fence.
And this model, this example we used, this was the Grayfield. So, and that's a rather sizable field. So there's still some give and take.
Yeah.
And put that on, and bring in some of the foul lines, some of the spacing. It was just we just know that Grayfield would work well. We had some fairly decent numbers with it, and so that was the
Great.
precedence that we used to, especially if we wanted to go down that path of it becoming a softball field. At least it's got the footprint to work at time, says you want a softball field.
When are the games primarily played? Evenings?
Yes.
Weekends?
Evenings,
Evenings.
twice a week.
To
It's
Highland?
like Wednesday nights, I think.
Until about, the last game I think is at 10.
So this is gonna require additional lighting?
Yes.
Where do we propose putting the lighting, and how we install lighting that won't affect?
The technology is remarkable. This was a question, I wish I brought the slide. The park board asked the same question.
Yeah.
The lighting systems out there are now literally curtains, where the light angle is very precise. So, give you an example. If the light pole were to go, let's just say here, there would be no light bleed over into this area.
Right.
With the new technology that is out there. It's very intentional, and it's only directed at the areas that would be in
I think I've
play.
seen those. I believe I saw some in Florida.
And I'll send out an email to the group, the same email that I sent to Park Board that shows, I believe it's a college field that was going next to a residential area. And they had the same concerns, and they showed, after they were installed, literally a curtain. It's very distinct between the dark and the light.
What about in the opposite direction then?
Huh?
What about in the opposite? If it's over on the right field, right side,
Uh-huh.
how much bleed over are you gonna get?
It literally doesn't.
Is focused
Yeah,
down?
it'll be within the parameters of this footprint.
Points
That's how
more,
good it is.
points more downward, doesn't it?
Yes,
So
down and out.
your plans include a photometric plan?
Oh, yeah.
Not on this. No.
But I mean, when you get to it, because I think that would show, when they do the photometric plan, you can actually,
Yeah.
they can show you how it all lights up, and it's really cool with when you
Yes,
do
so
that.
Phil and I have been just kind of ping ponging back and forth as far as, I've put a scope together for this if you choose to go to the next phase. And that optics study and those photometrics would be in there.
Is that going to be the same for the multi-use fields? Or is that just gonna be,
We could, absolutely. And to be honest with you, in the future, as we look at these things, like what we're doing at the tennis center, we're upgrading it to LED lighting. Eventually, I would like to do that on this whole complex, including the existing baseball fields, to have the same type of lighting system where you wouldn't have the bleed over. It would be directly onto the field of play. It's pretty impressive. It's a Musco system if you want to Google it right now and just kind of look at it. But it's pretty awesome.
What is what's the buffer between the sidewalk closest to the pond, this new sidewalk coming down through here? What would that be?
This one,
We're a little bit farther south,
This one?
about right there, yeah.
We would have to look at that, but it would, in most cases, it's going to be a guardrail type scenario.
Okay.
Where you're at, I think that's 48 inches if I remember the code. I think I have it memorized after all these years.
or we pull it back a little bit.
Right.
I figured it could be either, considering how early it is.
Yes, and I will tell you that as a landscape architect and being charged with public safety, yeah, that is a concern of mine that we have to just work it out and make sure we're not putting anybody in harm's way. So with that, we just sat down and did a cost estimate of the three options. And what you're gonna see here is opinion of probable cost that's kind of based on, turf, sprigs, play turf, or, live sod, sprigs, and then play turf. So that's what you kind of see is that cost range.
Synthetic grass.
Synthetic. So site preparation, now these numbers, and I'll tell you, we did this in May. And if anybody's tracking numbers on construction, it's crazy right now. I mean, it seems to be just going up and up. I'm hoping that eventually it levels out, but that's the truth of the matter. So we created these numbers based on projects that we just had recently bid and that are getting ready to go into construction. So that's what we try to judge our numbers on. Site preparation, 140. Site improvements. Site preparation would be the demo, just making sure we've got a clear palette, what we need to do to get it ready for construction. Site improvements, that would be the paving, getting the site ready for the public to come into it, to interact with the rest of the park. Synthetic turf field with amenities, that would be all of just this. So
Including the bleachers and.
correct. Then the lighting package, 170, 30 space parking, answer that question. 75,000, the restroom facilities, 235, and then the landscape planting and irrigation at 165. Now the landscape planting and irrigation, that would include some of the tree improvements that you're wanting to do, as well as just getting those sites irrigated. Now if you go even with synthetic turf, you would still need to irrigate it. You got to put water down on it to get the stuff that people like to put on fields so that it doesn't get washed away. So irrigation helps get rid of that stuff. The opinion of probable cost, 1.1 to 1.8, just depending on how you choose to go and what direction. I would say that if you go into our soft costs, which would be our fees, or another firm, whomever you choose to go with, 110 to 180, with a grand total of 1.2 to 1.9. Now, I would say that if you choose to go into construction, I would really recommend that you do a phasing, where like the first time, a schematic like we did with Grayfield, where we sat down, we worked out the schematic, took it to a 30% level, and then we developed that construction cost based on that. And then from there, we decided what was going to be an alternate, what was going to be a base bid, and try to break out that package to get to that magic number. And then that also just gives you that freedom to work within a budget that you can. In this day and age, there's also a lot of TPWD grants. I'm not totally sure where everything can fall, but there's all kinds of other opportunities and grants that are happening as well. So that's the way we're seeing a lot of our communities around the DFW area working now. Yes, ma'am.
So your design and support services, is that engineering and surveying basically? And it's it looks like it's 10% of construction costs, so as the costs go up, your fees go up?
We've had to do that in the past. We've worked with Phil a lot, and we try to minimize that to make sure that when we get to that point, that if we have to increase, it's minimal at most. Phil, we worked with him in the past on other projects. He's communicated rather well with us on what those expectations are, and we try to get there well before we get to that final moment.
Phil, I know that one of the things that you're thinking on this is and I can't remember the term, but the special athletics.
Oh, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, in partnership with Chief Rhyme and the Special Olympics.
Well, and I know that's something that Scott
Yeah,
Isaacson.
Miracle League.
Miracle
Sorry.
League.
Yeah, Miracle League. I know that's something that
Miracle
Scott
League, which is-
Isaacson is interested in partnering with as well.
Say that again?
Scott Isaacson has
Yes.
mentioned it as well, and I think he's mentioned a red field, is that right? The smaller, what are the smaller
purple.
part?
I think it's purple.
Yeah, purple.
Yeah. Yes.
So what would be, in terms of cost, what's more beneficial to us cost-wise to incorporate that into this? or to make purple accessible for that. And just leave this just straight kickball.
Well, I wouldn't want to leave it just straight kickball.
Okay.
You know, if there's opportunities for a miracle.
You know how
Miracle.
cool those kids would feel
Oh,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
with soccer?
no doubt, no
Like,
doubt.
they would think they'd be in like a mini World
Oh,
Series in
yeah.
that kind of place. Those kids
And
would
Well,
love
that purple
it.
field is a very intimate, neat,
So,
it's a
Yeah.
very attractive field.
But the thing, yes, it is, and I would leave that there, but it brings, again, when you bring something like that into the city, you're looking at taxable dollars, you're looking at dollars that will be spent in the city.
Right.
And so this is, gonna generate some revenue. It would be used for the Miracle League, it could be used also for T-ball. If they have a championship game or something like that on the weekend, we could use it for that as well. And then, like I said, I'd love to also do soccer in the outfield as well for the adults.
Okay.
In addition to kickball.
What is the $700,000 differential?
Synthetic grass, right?
Say it's typically synthetic, and then it's also,
But you've got a number for the synthetic turf at 870. You still have a $700,000 difference.
depending on where the field gets located, retaining walls, just site improvements and all that. There's a lot of give and take and utilities that get relocated. And, I'm trying to think what the,
Give you a range for all three concepts, basically, is what that is.
Well, and I mean, if you add up what you've got right there, that gets you to the 1.9.
correct,
So you'd be giving some of that away to get down to the 1.1.
correct.
And Grayfield ran about $1 million,
That's what I remember.
yeah, a little bit over, so.
So the 1.8 is the last configuration, C configuration. I'm assuming,
More likely, yes,
because of the
all the
wall.
walls, exactly. And this is just
More trail realignment too.
an opinion as well,
Yeah,
so.
understood.
What's the life expectancy?
On a natural grass field, you're looking at probably at least 20 years to 30.
Synthetic?
Synthetic will run with a warranty. Now they're running anywhere from 10 to 15.
Because I'm just thinking, once you put it in, there's ongoing operations cost
Yes.
for all this, that, we can bond this and say it's one and done, but
And you're looking at synthetic, you're looking at infield and outfield, right?
Yes.
Yes,
is it similar what's up there in Nut Driven Elite where they have all the fancy different grasses you can try out?
I'm not familiar
Oh,
with that.
they've got like a little field and they've got different synthetics.
Oh,
Where is this?
Understand then, if a natural field is going to give you a 20, 30-year lifespan, this is gonna give you a 10-year lifespan. Why would we choose the synthetic?
Maintenance.
maintenance, there you go. That's it, durability. If you're running, whoever said that, hit the nail on the head. If you have synthetic grass, you're able to do more programming events. A natural grass field, roughly between 28 to 50 events before you have to start replacing sod, like in the outfield. So when he asked what the life was, I was thinking of the whole structure.
Yeah, like, so a perfect
Yeah.
example is at the baseball and softball complex, Phil has to shut that down after each season for about 6 weeks so the grass can recover.
4 weeks. Well, no, you're
Down-
right,
down-
6 weeks. Yeah,
Yeah, so the grass can recover, whereas this,
yeah.
you would never have to do that.
No, we wouldn't have to do that. That's absolutely right.
Did you say 15 years with the warranty?
10 to 15.
10 to 15?
Yeah.
And then by then with escalation, it would need tore out and replaced, correct? At that point?
Or pieces of it,
Okay.
sections of it. Typically now, with the way synthetic grass systems are, they're a Velcro system underneath that keeps them attached, and they're very good. It's what we have at Kids Castle. It's a lot easier to replace than what it was 10 years ago. So you can actually cut sections out. Of course, you're gonna have a little patch, but at the end of the day, the adults aren't gonna care. They just want a space that they can play on.
How does the heat work compared to grass?
A lot harder, for sure.
There is-
It's a lot harder.
But there is a new synthetic turf. I think it's called blue turf. That is significantly cooler than
There's new technology out there, even with the infill. They're not using black rubber infill anymore. They're using a coated green infill.
Austin College has it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot closer to grass temperature than what
So
you
that's
see.
constantly evolving and changing, like technology, the technology for those synthetic fields. But the traditional is usually 25 to 30 degrees hotter. Yeah, it's, my daughter plays on it, it's tough. Yeah, this is in the evening too, mostly.
How many cleats have you replaced?
Well, yeah. When they walk off and it's melted into their cleats, yeah, it's hot.
Maybe a little bit premature, but what anticipated annual impact to the budget would we see for maintenance?
We have currently right now 3 folks taking care of that entire, the athletic complex. I'd have to break that down. We have all the work order and labor hours. I would just basically take Grayfield. I can send that out on any. I don't see I see some adjustments that can be made, also with new technology that we're looking at we're looking at robotic mowers, just to let you know. They're used in the United States and, all over the place. Same thing with robotic painters. So we're looking at trying to gain labor hours where we can and try not to ask for bodies. But we're doing that anyway besides this, so.
Thank you.
Mhm. Is there any other, oh, yes, sir.
Are you looking for something today from us?
No.
A, B, or C, or?
Well, yeah, if Park Board liked A and C, what's, just something like that, would be helpful, yes. Not looking for a decision, but if our preference would be.
I'm saying, no, that wasn't part of our scope. To come up with a decision, it was to work out the scenarios and then just
Yeah.
let y'all haggle amongst yourselves.
There's no bees out.
Bees out.
Bees
yeah.
out.
Well, I would prefer C. I think it's a little idealistic though, looking at the topo
Mhm.
where the home plate is sitting and making sure that's ADA accessible from the parking lot. Seems like it's gonna be the higher end of this number, not the lower end, so. It
Yeah.
A lot of stairs,
Well, stairs and
doesn't work for Miracle
stairs and
Field,
ramps.
so.
And if you haven't seen Grayfield or haven't been out there, if you don't have a daughter that plays softball or you haven't been out there with kickball, we overcame some pretty significant grades. I wanna say they may even be worse than this, but it was switchbacks.
Yeah.
Things like that, but yeah, that has to be taken into consideration for
Yes.
sure.
I think, pretty much it. Q&A. Got all that.
We had it.
So, thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much. Oh, we got another question.
Technical question, were those 80 markers or Prismacolor markers for the rendering?
No, that's actually, that's actually a computer program now that.
Yeah.
Oh, that takes all the.
Really? I was gonna say.
That's a willow green and a grass green and a
Exactly,
warm
with
gray
onion
too.
skin.
And, yeah.
You're not just getting lit up like a Christmas tree as you're trying to render it out.
Well, it fooled me, so.
I did, I thought the same thing, it was old school, I was gonna commend you on old school.
No, the programs are quite amazing now. I was kind of disappointed myself, like, what happened to just good old days with the hand?
All right, well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That place is called Driven Elite,
Okay,
it's off of, right past Billman's Bridge off of Old Alton.
okay.
And they used to, I don't know if they still do, but they would test all kinds of different synthetic grass. There's a soccer practice field, but they move grasses in and out all the time,
Okay.
synthetics.
All right, well, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have an objection if we take like a 3-minute break? So I can go to the restroom.
I'm here.
All right. Appraisal District Board of Directors. It's you. It's your turn.
They contacted me. So, the city received notification from the Denton Central Appraisal District that all taxing jurisdictions have the option to nominate up to 5 individuals to be considered for their board of directors. So our currently serving board member is Alex Buck, and his term will expire this year. So, with that, you have the option to nominate, it is not required. And if you choose not to nominate, you would still retain the option to cast votes from the list of nominees that are submitted from the other jurisdictions. So to be eligible to serve on the board, the individual has to be a resident of the county and must have been in the district for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date for taking office. So with that, I did reach out to Alex Buck, who's a Highland Village resident, and he is interested in serving again. So I did forward you his resume. He's served for the last 2 years. So this is an opportunity for council to discuss if, number one, if you would like to nominate. And then if so, I'll have an item placed on the next agenda for a formal nomination to take formal action. But it's also an opportunity to discuss if you have anybody in mind, or if you would like to wait and discuss that further at the next meeting, and at that point, maybe do a nomination, so.
Has anyone other than Alex expressed an interest in, and how are they advertised? I guess?
So they're not really advertised, that's up to you, as council to determine if there's somebody in the community that you, thought might
Be
be
interested.
good, yeah, to serve on that board. You could reach out to those individuals, see if they're interested, and we could go from there at the next meeting.
Yeah, if you remember too, City of Highland Village, we don't have enough votes to elect somebody ourselves. It's based on your appraised value. And so I think Alex got votes from, was it Louisville ISD? And,
From last year.
yeah, when he was elected the last
There were
time.
quite a few that he received.
So we would have to put our votes towards someone.
Is it
Right.
based on value, or is it based on population count?
Value.
Value.
So voting wise, Highland Village has 24 votes, whereas like Louisville and Flower Mound have 100,
So it's like
that kind
very minor. Yeah. Well, my personal opinion of it is, I think he's a good man. I think he's gonna have the interest of Highland Village in place, and he's already there. I'm in favor of just keeping him on.
That's what I think.
I'll second that.
okay. So if that's a consensus, then I can bring that forward in the next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3, discuss appointment of board and commission members. Review and discuss attendance record and performance of board and commission members and removal of board and commission members prior to completion of their current term pursuant to the Code of Ordinance Section 2.037.
Switching up one second. So, it is that time of year. As I mentioned before, over the summer, we received applications from residents that were interested in serving on a board or commission. And then staff also reached out to currently serving board members whose terms expired this year to kind of see if they were interested in serving again, maybe move to a different board, or if they chose not to. With that, all of that information was presented to council, and you've held a meet and greet with the new applicants. This is an opportunity for council to discuss appointments. We do have 2 vacancies, one on the Planning and Zoning Commission with a term that expires next year. So whoever, if you make an appointment for that board, for that vacancy, they would just fill that unexpired term. There's another vacancy that we had on ZBA, but that term actually expires this year, so it's sort of a full 2 years.
Was that a place, or was it the alternate place?
It's the alternate.
So on this up here, it's the yellow.
Yeah, so to kind of help with the discussion and facilitate it, rather than flipping back and forth, I thought this might be helpful. The highlighted areas are the positions that we have that are, their terms expire this year, so that kind of gives you a
You have a
visual.
printout where you can put those, so we can actually, as we figure it out.
You mean, as you discuss, I can jot it down.
If you want, I can just stand.
I need a matrix.
Stand up there and type it on the screen. Yeah.
How color coded?
Funny, you just took a marker.
I saw a guy do that. Sort of right in the skirt.
So there are, everybody you can discuss the closed session.
Right. PNC,
PNC, DBA, so
so typically what we do is we do Board of Ethics and Parks first because we do those open. And then we go into closed session to do planning and zoning, community development, and ZBA. So our new folks understand the process.
And one thing I did forget to mention, when you're looking at board appointments, if those that are currently serving in alternate positions, you know, they are required to attend the meetings and also, you know, to keep up to date on what's happening in case they should be needed to step in or fill in for a regular seated member. That's the only time they can vote though, is if they are filling in for someone who's out. So you want to consider your alternates as well when you're looking at filling other positions.
Yeah, in years past, when we've had like a vacancy, for example, like on ZBA, the first 3 places are vacant. If the alternates want to stay, typically we'll move them up and then appoint new people to the alternate positions. You don't have to do it that way, but
Right.
that's what we've typically done as a courtesy.
Also, there's an opportunity tonight to review, you all were provided attendance records on the, for each board and commission, attendance records for their cruise last year. We do have.
Was anybody with an app that did not provide a notice? Or no, just straight absence? What it looks like.
No, that's kind of been drilled into everyone to notify their board liaisons prior to meetings to let them know if they're not gonna be able to attend. So, attendance on, there's some boards that don't meet very often, so there's not really anything, everybody was able to make all of the meetings. Per our city ordinance, we do have criteria where if anybody has missed 25% or more of the meetings, council has that option to remove them, whether their term is up this year or not. So, I think Parks and Recreation has, two, and then just one on PNZ. So that's an option, you don't have to do that, but I just wanted to remind you that that could be part of this discussion as well.
Which ones do we need to do in closed session?
Planning and Zoning, Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Community Development Corporation. So Board of Ethics and Parks and Recreation Advisory.
Yeah, so if we wanted to discuss some that, you know, like I've got an idea that I'd like to move someone from ethics into one of those other positions. So we're gonna do that in closed session.
Into one of the ones that we can't do in closed session, yes, we can do that. So if you've got somebody you wanna move, say, from one board to PMC or one
Right,
board to
that's-
ZBA, yeah, we can have that conversation, even though it's, technically, we're talking about another board, but it's for appointment to.
But we can have it here.
You can have it, when
You can also have it in open session too.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you don't have, you don't
No,
have to
I
go
was
to
just-
closed session on it. It's up to you.
I was just looking, you know, very quickly up at the Board of Ethics, because, you know, that's one that doesn't meet a lot. But we've got a gentleman that would like to go on a different board, and I think we could. So I was gonna say, looking at Kevin McMahon as a candidate to go down on the PNC.
And you did have 2 currently serving board members, like you said, that,
That are gonna stay on. Let's leave them alone.
Russell Jackson and Rick Reiki currently serve on boards that either meet once a year or have not met at all in the last year. While their terms are not up this year, if it warranted and we were looking at, needed somebody to serve maybe on another board, they would be open to serving on a second board, and there's no restriction on that. People have served on multiple boards, especially in a situation like that.
We have so many applicants.
Right.
So the question I have about McMahon is in his comment section, there's a concern for a potential conflict with his wife as she's applying within City Hall.
I can speak to that, that I've already selected someone for that role, there's no longer a conflict.
There, okay, all right.
Just try and take an easy one.
And-
Someone who's served on a board and done a good job.
We had the same thought, see?
Also, I wanted to
Grandpa and
mention,
Ada receptive. Look at that.
when we did the
Were you
meet and
thinking the
greet,
same person?
I actually was.
so when we did the meet and greet, there were a couple of people that were not able to attend for new applicants. They did contact us to let us know ahead of time. I didn't want you guys to think they just didn't show. They just weren't available that evening. Some had work commitments, some were on time, so. Leslie Andrews, Adriana Belden, Philip Maloney, Megan Milas or Milas, I'm not sure how you say that. I think Alexander Parrish ended up coming,
Showed up,
and
I was
Dave
gonna
Rush.
suggest Megan Milas be put into Kevin's spot if we move Kevin out. And
So
then
you
the
said
other two
you
on
had
board.
Leslie Andrews, Triana
That's
Belvin,
done.
Phil Maloney, Dave Rush, and who was the other one?
Babak Razavi.
Megan Milas, Dave Rush, Alexander Parrish actually ended up coming, I was able to show.
So there were 5 that you had that did not show.
No, Leslie Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
I got them all then.
We had more than that.
We had 7.
Yeah, or 8
Seven.
even.
Who's been
No,
coming?
there were 5 that she said that did not show up.
Yeah, Babak,
Yeah.
Rick Reiki,
Dave
Dave Rush.
Megan Millis, Phil Maloney, Adriana Bolden, and Leslie Andrews.
Oh, I thought you did, okay.
The other one, Bob, what?
Babak
I think even
Razavi.
later, but okay.
Yeah, I looked.
So 6,
Oh, that's right.
7.
who was the 7th one?
Dave Rush,
Okay, that's what I was
Okay.
thinking of, right, okay.
Ricky, Rick Reiki.
He was out of town.
Right, he was out of town.
All right,
And then one guy dropped out, but that you told us about at the meet and greet, Throckmorton.
all right, so where we start with?
Well, you know, on Board of Ethics, so there's 2 that wanted to stay, that's Ben Samaro and Peter Casey. So leave them, they fill 2 spots. Let's say we take Kevin, who's on the board, move him off into another spot, and I put P and Z, then take Megan Milas, new candidate, and put her on.
Okay.
That gives you a full board, and it also relocates Kevin McMahon.
Okay.
So,
No, it's fair.
There's nobody on P and Z from Highland. Well, I don't know, but nobody is, like, it's P and Z.
who was she on?
So Mr. Throckmorton was.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Found out.
First. Writing this down so I can keep track. So, John, you said you would put Megan Milas,
In Kevin McMahon's open spot,
and he's,
and move
He's on.
Kevin to P and Z.
you know, none of those are alternate spots.
No, they don't have places
No,
like
no
that for
alternates.
ethics.
Okay, and then the second one was what? Your second nominee?
There's only one.
No, Kevin McMahon, currently on the board,
Right.
move him to P and Z.
Okay, that's what you had,
And then Megan Milas, who's a new applicant, put her on
new spot.
ethics in his spot.
Okay. You didn't have anybody for the other 2 spots?
No, those are currently filled,
Okay.
people that want to stay on the board.
Well, no, we've got 3 that are up in 2023.
Right,
Well,
those
yeah.
2 currently serving
Yeah,
members would like to serve again.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't show you the ones that are there that want to
See
stay.
this sheet, wait,
It does.
your current member preferences, table 3 has all of that outlined on there, so.
You want to move him to the alternate spot on P and Z and leave the other ones in place? That was the only one I saw that was,
Those
Yeah,
2
you
charts, I
can
would
move him
close
in
out and
alternate.
use those for Andy.
And then move Greg Cohn out.
those 2, that was the only one that was open, except for the expiring terms. But they all expressed interest in staying, I believe.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with them staying?
No, I didn't mark my matrix
Oh,
right.
Tables,
There's an open spot, so we can move him down there knowing that we don't have to make a
No,
decision.
I'm asking, did you also have a preference to move one of the P and Z members out?
When we get to P
Yeah.
and Z, yes.
Hold on that.
Yeah, I'm right with you.
But if we put McMahon into the open alternate, we can settle that one.
Low-hanging fruit.
Well, that's true. We don't have to go into closed session and make that change, do we? We move
Yeah,
that-
we
If
can
we
do
move
that.
McMahon into the vacant alternate spot on P and Z, we can do that right now and not have to worry about it in closed, right?
You don't have to have any of these conversations in closed, it's up to you.
Oh, okay.
It's up to the council.
This is as fun as doing, that's not a motion.
All right.
So is that kind of the consensus on Board of Ethics is Megan Mealis, Ben Samaro, and Peter Casey? Is Megan who you, I mean,
Yeah.
discuss,
Okay, so we're done with Board of Ethics?
I'm not sure.
Because the two wanna stay.
Okay. All right, cool. Next would be
I would-
Parks.
Well, I'd recommend we go to 4B. I think you can finish 4B real quick.
Okay, so
Well,
So now we're deciding not to do it in closed session then? Because
On-
4B is one of the ones we're gonna do in closed session.
yeah, typically we do 4B, ZBA, and P and Z in closed.
Well, the only reason I was gonna say is there's 4 people on it and all 4 want to stay.
Okay, so
And three
Well,
of
that
them are
would
here.
be a.
everybody wants to stay.
He's at,
Yeah,
that's a
Okay,
relatively
so we just have
easy
an
one.
alternate we'd have to fill. Correct.
So,
no, she
No,
wants, Carla wants,
no,
Oh,
not on
yeah.
4B.
4B, everybody wants three
Oh,
now.
yeah, yeah,
County
okay.
rep and one citizen rep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm good with staying, although I won't be a council representative after May.
Right, and we'll have to fill.
Well, you're not
We usually
a-
fill the vacancy when that happens.
Okay, so that's all.
So we're done with 4B too?
So Carla will remain on, along with John, Brian, and Rhonda. Just making sure we're all okay.
Alright, so then the next question is, do we wanna do these other ones in closed, or we wanna do them, typically
What,
we
on
do them
Parks and
closed?
Rec?
Oh, we still have to do Parks and Rec, yeah, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Okay. So. Place 4. He has an attendance problem.
Kevin does not want to serve again.
Kevin makes it easy
No,
then.
you're right.
Kevin and Kenneth don't wanna
Yeah,
both
Kevin and Kenneth are both
dropped.
out.
So we have to fill 2.
Right, and Kevin Koonsman has reached his, I'm sorry, Ken Koonsman has reached his term limit, so,
Okay.
and Kathy Wells.
So of the people that showed up for the meet and greet, there was Nevin Beaver that was interested in parks as his first. Kevin Pearson was. Jeff Levin was. Spencer Wilk was.
Leslie Andrus.
I'm talking about the ones that actually showed up at the meet and greet.
Okay.
And then I think it was Douglas Throckmorton was the other one.
And Spencer will.
Do we wanna talk about those potentials first before we get into the ones that did not show up and we had to review their submissions?
And you do have an alternate who could move on.
Is there any interest in moving Kathy Wells up to place 4, place 5?
I think that would be preference, yeah.
Now, her attendance is
Yeah,
under
for attendance
70%.
is-
That's true.
Under 70.
Yeah, it's 60, according to it.
She's missed a third of the meetings,
Yeah, it's 63% attendance,
67.
67. I do math for a living.
66.6.
I'm gonna change it on my anal retentive matrix. That was my
So-
concern with missing that many meetings.
So then the next question would be, if we wanted to, we could remove her.
Well, her term is up this year.
Oh, it is up this year, so yeah, well,
You don't have to remove her, she's already.
we just don't
We just
reappoint
don't
her, so
reappoint
do we wanna give her another term to see how she does with attendance, or we wanna move on?
I can move on.
Can we ask Phil?
We have a lot going on in parks.
We need people
You
there.
guys have made great choices, and I'm gonna defer to you. And you've helped me tremendously.
Was that a
Office, Phil?
Yeah.
Well, I think the key to what he said is there's a lot going on.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, no, I'm good with that, because we need this lot.
We do. Okay. Now Leslie Andrus, I know her. I know she's passionate about our parks. I know Dave Rush is passionate about our parks.
I like Leslie too. I mean, I know her and, she's been attending meetings the last few months.
Who is he?
Who?
I don't.
Yeah, I didn't get David's stuff.
Okay, yeah, Kevin Pearson's on ZBA and he was moved to a different board and Parks was his first choice.
Okay.
Ingrid worked very hard on a lot of this, so she's here to provide input on some of
And I
that.
was just saying,
I would agree to move Kevin Pearson to parks since he already did ZBA and that's
Do
what
we
he
want to move
wants.
him into an alternate role so he can learn his way around or just put him?
Oh.
Ingrid, were you gonna say something about this?
Okay.
no, I was just gonna say that after you were considering Kevin McNeil, because he's currently expired but wants to serve again with somewhere else, that's Kevin Pearson.
Same, yeah.
And his first choice was Parks.
Yeah, we had two currently serving members that wanted to serve
The
on.
more input you provide, the more fun it is.
See,
See,
I
I enjoy your accent.
But Pearson wanted parks.
We were both, and if we're in agreement, it's bad.
Now,
Then we've gotta go with it, I mean.
No, but we're talking
that's a
about
no-brainer.
Kevin Pearson moving up into P and Z now,
everything is
Okay.
aligned.
because he wanted to do something different.
But he picked parks.
You said Pearson or McMahon?
No, McMahon also, but Pearson is moving up into P and Z.
Pearson is the one that's on,
Right, zoning board
Pearson's
of
on
adjustment.
ZBA,
yeah,
but his first choice was park. But he's Murray Park and that area is not, Murray Park is not, represented in P and Z. I gave everybody like where they are and so it's all the city, see?
okay.
Look, color coded and everything.
But then it gets back into parks. You know, I had Dave Rush, I'd love to see him back on.
Mhm.
Had Leslie Andrus, see her there. And then was open, so if Kathy doesn't come back, then we've got it open for a third.
Say Kevin Pearson. Kevin Pearson.
Well, either Pearson up there or Pearson into P and Z, but he's one of the guys that's been serving. I'd be okay either way.
I liked Parks more than P and Z from the discussion.
That sounds like,
That's how he's got it.
it sounds like we're leaning that way then.
Preferences.
Okay, so we'll put Pearson up there. So Rush, Andrus, Pearson,
Pearson,
good choice.
I like it.
okay, hold on that thought. Where did you want to put Kevin Pearson, which position? Alternate or regular
He's
position?
already serving on a board, right?
Yes, he's been serving on ZBA.
Yeah, we put him in place 4.
Place 4.
Yeah. Put him in place 4, put Dave Rush in place 5, and then put Leslie Anderson in alternate.
Right. That worked.
Kevin Pearson. And then who's in alternate place 1?
Leslie Anderson.
Okay. And then leave place 2, you don't need to do anything with that, so.
Okay, so that gets that done. And now on the P and Z, ZBA, and
Yeah, and then to read the agenda.
I'm assuming we do want to go into close for that?
You would choose to,
Yes?
it's up to you guys.
If only to close the door.
All right, we're going to closed session. Everybody's not allowed to get out.
Call the item, please.
Wow, thank you, Kim.
Council will now meet in closed session to discuss
Oh,
the
you're
following
right.
item.
There you
Number
go.
5, section 551.071, consultation, well, no, 551.074, deliberate the appointment, removal, evaluation, and duties of public officers, especially members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Board of Directors of the Highland Village Community Development Corporation. Going in closed session at 7:14. Good evening and welcome to the regular session of the Highland Village City Council. Today is Tuesday, September the 26th, and the meeting is called to order at 7:43. Let the record show all council members are present. And please join Councilmember Hurst in leading the prayer and the pledge. Rhonda?
I would like everybody to rise and join me in saying our Lord's Prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and
Son, the Holy Ghost,
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and lead us not into temptation.
As we forgive those who
Temptation.
trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom,
power,
power.
Glory forever.
now and forever.
Amen.
Thank you. Now the pledges.
Oh, no, you gotta step back up.
Because at a meeting.
American, I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to mayor and council reports. Mayor and council reports are items of community interest pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0415. The city council may report on the following items: expression of thanks, congratulations, or condolences, information about holiday schedules, recognition of individuals, reminders about upcoming city council events, information about community events, and announcements involving imminent threat to public health and safety. Does anybody have anything they want to report?
I have
Yes,
my
ma'am.
weekly calendars.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this week, DCTA is on Thursday, the 28th at 10 a.m. online. Next week, go meet your fabulous mayor on October 2nd with Coffee with the Mayor. October 5th is a Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting. And to sum up next week, October 7th is Concert in the Park featuring ZZ Tejas, a ZZ Top tribute band. That's it.
Anybody else? Friday night is also the Mound Showdown, the annual football game between Flower Mound and Marcus. It's going to be at Flower Mound this year, so if you haven't got your tickets, you're probably already out of luck, but you can still try. I think that's all we had for there. And I've got a couple of proclamations. I have to sign them first, I think, because I haven't had a chance to do that. So the first one we're going to do is for Luke Westcott. So Luke, if you are here and ready, I'll meet you at the podium in just 1 second. And so this one's first. Hi, Luke.
Hi.
So I'm going to give you the blue folder. You can come stand by me if you want to. You don't have to. I don't have cooties. So come over here and stand by me. Right here, so everybody can see you. They want to see your cute face. All right, so whereas each year students are provided with anti-bullying campaigns where they learn the effects of bullying and what to do if someone is bullying them or if they see someone being bullied. And whereas Luke Westcott attends a karate class in Highland Village that further provides students an environment that fosters discipline, respect, character building, and self-confidence. And whereas on his way home from school, Luke observed two girls being bullied by an older student, and rather than ignoring the act, he intervened to stop the behavior before it could lead to something more harmful. And whereas Luke's intervention kept the incident from escalating and showed tremendous maturity and courage by defending the girls, and whereas it is with great pleasure that we recognize Luke's simple act of kindness and for us all to commit to creating a culture of caring and respect towards others in our schools and community, now therefore I, Daniel Jaworski, Mayor of the City of Highland Village, hereby recognize Luke Westcott for his actions and willingness to help others. And I just want to say, I just want to say thank you for having the courage to stand up for somebody else. I think we've all experienced bullying on the bad side. There's probably some of us who've done it on the bullying side as well. So what you did, I hope you not only feel good about what you did to help somebody else, but you learned something about courage to do the right thing, and will continue to do that throughout your life. So thank you very much. Does anybody want to, are your parents here? Do y'all get pictures? Have them open it up. Oh yeah, you want to open that up so they can see and this is suitable for framing. Do it like this. And do y'all want to come up? What school do you go to?
McAuliffe.
McAuliffe? Okay, good. You're learning good stuff. Thank you very much.
A good principal.
All right. Mr. Hicks, do you want to join me? So that's my copy. Here's your copy.
Thank you, sir.
You betcha. All right. So these go hand in hand. So whereas school bullying, harassment, and intimidation greatly reduce students' abilities to both achieve and surpass academic standards in public schools in the city of Highland Village, and whereas bullying can directly affect a student's health and well-being and thus contribute to excessive absences from school, physical sickness, mental and emotional anguish, and long-term social and mental consequences, and whereas individuals that engage in bullying may also struggle throughout their lifetime because they have not learned appropriate social behavior, and whereas it is long past time for not only society but also for each community to acknowledge that bullying is not a rite of passage to be simply ignored or tolerated, and whereas the Stop Bullying Our Purpose program encourages schools, students, parents, recreation programs, religious institutions, and community organizations to engage in a variety of awareness and prevention activities designed to make our community safer for all children and adolescents. Now therefore, I, Daniel Jaworski, Mayor of the City of Highland Village, do hereby proclaim October 9th through the 16th, 2023 as Say No to Bullying Week. Thank you, Ms. Chicks, and I'll give you the podium.
Thank you. Luke, big ups to you, my friend. Thank you, thank you. I'm more excited about you than I am what I do because number one, it takes courage, and that's actually one of my fabulous four. Courage, confidence, and faith, and self-esteem.
You want to come to the mic?
Well, my wife says I have a big enough mouth, so I really don't need a mic, but.
It's for our vast viewing audience on television.
Hi, no, I'm just kidding. Mayor, on behalf of our organization and City Council, thank you all so much for your support. This isn't my first time. It's been a while, but you guys have always supported the program. But Luke, I'm extremely excited, young man, to see young people like you taking a stand. And what it takes is more young people like you to stand up, because the more we stand up, we can eradicate bullying. So don't ever stop being the Luke that you are, because you're an incredible young man, and don't you ever forget that. You got it? All right, champions for life. That being said, again, thank you all so much. I promise I will continue to do my part to eradicate bullying. We have now spoken to over 3 million people, and our program is in two other countries, New Zealand and Australia, along with the United States. So we're going to make this thing happen. Highland Village, thank you all. I'm forever grateful. Stay blessed.
Mr. Hicks, thank you for what you do as well.
Thank you, sir.
So moving on to item number 10, City Manager and Staff Reports. Mr. Stevens, do you have anything?
I do, Mayor. I have one item. Republic Services has begun delivering the new blue trash carts and green recycling carts this week. And based on some questions that we've received and an error on the part of Republic in a brochure they published, today we sent the following information to residents via our newsletter, social media, next door, and through our phone call system. Again, Republic Services delivering the carts this week, and the schedule is for it to be delivered on the day before your regular collection date. However, if you don't get it that day, be patient. You should have it by Friday. If residents do not receive a cart, would like an extra cart, and there's a $7 a month fee for an extra cart,
or choose not to keep either of the Republic cards, they should call Republic Services after October 2nd, and that number is going to be 817-317-2000. CWD carts and any waste management or city-owned carts will be picked up this week after they are serviced on residents' regular collection day. And Republic will begin service in Highland Village on October 2nd. If you have a personal trash cart that you are using and you don't want it, if you can somehow place that into the new Republic cart, they will pick that up and throw that away. And the Republic Services did send out a brochure. I don't think everybody's received it yet. Hopefully by this week you will. The telephone number in there was printed incorrectly, so the one I gave earlier is the correct number, 817-317-2000. And that is all I have, Mayor.
There's no video?
No video.
Okay. All right, so moving on to item number 11, visitor comments. We're now addressing visitor comments. Anyone wishing to address the City Council must complete a speaker's request form and return to the City Secretary. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not posted on the agenda. Action on your statement can only be taken at a future meeting. In order to expedite the flow of business and to provide all visitors the opportunity to speak, the mayor may impose a 3-minute limitation on any person addressing the City Council, and a 30-minute time allotment is set aside for this section, and the remaining speakers will be heard at the end of the action agenda. Mrs. Miller, is anybody signed up? Okay. Moving on to consent. All items on the consent agenda are considered for approval by a single motion and vote without discussion. Each council member has the option of removing an item from this agenda so that it may be considered separately, and or adding any items from the action considered as part of the consent agenda. Items on consent are number 12, consider approval of the minutes of the special city council meeting held on September 18th, 2023. Number 13, consider resolution 2023-3091 authorizing renewal of the financial software maintenance agreement with Tyler Technologies. Number 14, consider resolution 2023-3087 authorizing renewal of the interlocal agreement with TML Intergovernmental Risk Pool for insurance coverage. Item number 15, consider resolution 2023-3088 authorizing an interlocal agreement with Texas Political Subdivisions for providing city workers compensation insurance for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. Number 16, consider resolution 2023-3092 authorizing renewal of the professional services agreement for financial auditing services with Patillo and Brown and Hill, LLP. And then number 17, consider resolution 2023-3089 authorizing an agreement with EAR Telecommunications LLC for the construction of the Brazos Boulevard and Highland Village Road traffic signal project. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Nelson?
Make a motion that we approve consent agenda items 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 as read.
And a second?
Second.
By Mr. Feaster. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item number 18, we did meet in closed session, and action on that will be taken on agenda item number 20. Or 21, yeah, sorry, item number 21. So moving on to number 19, consider resolution 2023-3093, authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Half & Associates Incorporated relating to various Unity Park, Brazos Park, and Highland Village Tennis Center improvement projects. Mr. Lozano.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A little background information that you are familiar with is on December 14th in 2021, the council approved ordinance number 2021-1291 authorizing the issuance of certificate of obligation bonds for the purpose of obtaining funds to construct street and park projects. In the discussion associated with the issuance of 2021 certificate of obligation bonds, the city staff identified the following park improvements and projects with an estimated cost and design and construction totaling $6.4 million. And in here are the park improvements that you're familiar with Highland Village LED lighting upgrade at the tennis center, Pilot Knoll campground improvements, Unity Park improvements, and then other park improvements that are on the bond as well. So the projects related to the improvement of Unity Park, Brazos Park, and Highland Village Tennis Center are estimated to cost $1.4 million and some change, which breaks out the following way. Unity lighted basketball court at $230,000. Unity flex field and baseball field improvements at $907,000. Brazos athletic field improvements at $135,000. And Highland Village Tennis Center lighting at $170,000. So the needs is to hire a design firm to perform the professional landscape architectural, professional engineering, and grant procurement and bidding services. Related, actually, there's going to be no grant procurement. That's I should have taken that out, so I apologize for that. Related to the design and construction of all Unity Park and Brazos and Highland Village Tennis Center improvements. So we have requested and received a quote of $178,500 from Half Inc. to perform these professional services. So I'll take any questions at this time, but basically we're looking that you approve the resolution 2023-3093 authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Half and Inc. related to the various Unity Park, Brazos Park, and Highland Village Tennis Center improvement projects.
Mr. Feaster.
Yes, Mr. Lozano, so what is the date of the estimates that are included in this resolution? Are those December 21 estimates?
Yes, they are.
At what point would you re-estimate these projects from a construction standpoint?
We level up, we true up the numbers based off of what we have for a budget during the design process, usually at about 30%. And we start looking at what those costs are. And if we see that we're going to exceed the budget, we start identifying things that can go in as an alternate to keep the costs down. That's what I did with the gray field and other projects.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So my question was along the same lines. So we will get the engineering done. We'll come back with a detailed estimate based upon the new engineering.
Yes,
and then
sir.
you'll come to council with a recommendation for approval of the actual projects.
Yes, sir, and probably a little presentation.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion? Mr. Feaster?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion we approve Resolution 2023-3093 authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with Half Associates, Inc. relating to various Unity Park, Brazos Park, and Highland Village Tennis Center improvement projects.
All right, Mr. Feaster made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Fiorenza. Any further discussion necessary?
Well, it's not discussion, I guess it's another question.
Okay.
Timeline? Sorry.
Once we get the agreement executed, they'll probably start within 2 to 3 weeks. And we're looking hopefully to have design and out to bid. I know this is kind of aggressive, but looking at spring, there are some things that we want to do. We've already started talking to our youth sports organizations, and we would start at the places where it fits in their schedule.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, item number 20. We took no action on that, correct, Mrs. Miller? Correct. It's 21 that we took action on. Okay.
Discussed in the earlier session.
So item number 20, we can just say, we just pass over it. Moving on to item number 21, consider resolution 2023-3090, appointing members to various positions on the Board of Ethics, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Commission, Zoning Board of Adjustment, and the Highland Village Community Development Corporation. Mrs. Loud, Angie Miller.
So, Mayor and Council, this evening, Council had an opportunity to discuss Board and Commission appointments. Back in the summer, staff solicited applications from residents interested in serving on our boards and commissions. We also reached out to currently serving board members whose terms were expiring this year to see if they were interested in serving another term or moving to another board, or maybe if their situation had changed and they were no longer interested in serving. So we've compiled all of that information, provided that to council. A meet and greet was held at the last, during the last council meeting date. So tonight, during early work session, council had an opportunity to discuss the applicants, the currently serving board members, and this is an opportunity to take formal action for appointments.
All right. Any further discussion? Would somebody like to offer a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Mr. Kingsmiller? Sorry.
No, please go ahead. I'll second that.
All right, I'll read.
This is how it went inside, too. It went really smooth and easy, so.
Before, John, before you read that, I'm sorry, I'm out of order, but I guess I just wanted to say in front of everybody, we do, as a city council, I know the mayor will back me up on this, we do appreciate everybody's willingness to volunteer for our city boards and commissions. It's a very important way to get involved. Not all the boards meet equally, so, you know, if we have assigned you to a board, it's with the best purposes in mind. So I just wanted to acknowledge that so everybody's aware, but.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, all
I'd
right.
also like to state that if you didn't get, we had such a great number this year, that please reapply next year, because we're always looking for people to serve.
Well, and to kind of tack on to that, we do have vacancies sometimes throughout the year. So we do pull from those groups that, we keep those on file for a year. So if we have any vacancies, we'll have those to choose from for appointments at that time, so.
Okay.
And with that, finally,
All right, make a motion on the resolution. It's a resolution, the City Council of the City of Highland Village, Texas, appointing members to the various positions on the Board of Ethics, Highland Village Community Development Corporation, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Zoning Board of Adjustment, and providing an effective date. Whereas the City Council of Highland Village desires to appoint citizens to serve for the terms beginning October 1st, 2023 for positions on various boards and commissions. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Highland Village, Texas, that the following people are hereby appointed to indicated on the Board of Ethics with a term commencing October 1, 2023 and ending as indicated. Megan Miles, expiration September 30th, 2025. Ben Samaro, expiration September 30th, 2025. And Peter Casey, expiration September 30th, 2025. Section 2, the following people are hereby appointed to the indicated positions on the Highland Village Community Development Corporation with a term commencing October 1, 2023, ending as indicated. Carla Lyman, John Kicksmiller, Brian Fiorenza, and Rhonda Hurst. Excuse me for not reading all the detail. Okay, Section 3. Following people are hereby appointed to the indicated position in the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term commencing on October 1st, 2023 and ending as indicated below. Kevin Pearson, Place 4, September 30, 2025. Dave Rush, Place 5, September 30th, 2025. Leslie Andrus, Alternative Place 1, September 30th, 2025. Section 4, the following people are hereby appointed to the indicated positions on the Planning and Zoning Commission with a term commencing October 1st, 2023 and ending as indicated. Jared Christensen, Place 1, ending September 30th, 2025. Denver Kemery, Place 4, expiration September 30th, 2025. Kevin McMahon, Place 5, expiration September 30th, 2025. Spencer Wilk, Alternative Place 1, September 30th, 2025, and Jeffrey Adams, Alternative Place 2, September 30th, 2024. Okay. Section 5, the following people are hereby appointed to indicated positions on the Zoning Board of Adjustments with a term commencing October 1st, 2023 and ending as indicated below. Rick Reiki, Place 1, expiration September 30th, 2025. Jeremy Booker, Place 2, September 30th, 2025. Colin Roberts, Place 3, September 30th, 2025. Jim Fuller, Alternative Place 1, September 30th, 2025. And Lucy Turek, Alternative Place 2, September 30th, 2024. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
all right, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Kicksmiller. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cox. Any further discussion needed? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. That moves us into late work session. Status reports on current projects and discussion of future agenda items. Does anyone have any reports or future items they want to discuss? All right, there being none, that concludes the City Council meeting. We're adjourned at 8:08 p.m.